Hi, I'm John DiArmo with the Coquille Sword Group, and today we're talking about Article 19. So, let's begin. Article 19, Mobilizing the Visible Shadow. Here, the actual visible, positive shadow is meant. If your opponent holds down his sword behind him so that you can only see his body, you should hold the hidden sword down with your spirit and at the same time empty your body. That is to say, free it of all interference and strike with your sword at the protruding front of your opponent's body. If you do this, his body will doubtless begin to move. When his movement begins, it is easy to gain victory. This theory did not previously exist. You should strike the protruding part in order to avoid stiffening your spirit. This should be carefully tried out. So, just as in the previous article, where the invisible spirit meant yin, the visible positive spirit here means yang. So, when your opponent holds their sword behind them, this is how we do Migi and Hidari Wakigamai. So if the Toraburi kata videos are already out, go ahead and look at them for a better example of how we're the position that we're using this idea against. So, what are we talking about here? Basically, sometimes your opponent will try and hide his intention as to how he intends to cut you by hiding the position of his sword. So, whereas if I'm in Chudan, if I'm in a center guard, you know that I am fundamentally going to be working with thrusts, small push-pull cuts, and maybe kind of Kisaki Gaishi type cuts, right? I'm limited because of where my sword position is. If my sword is in Gedan, down low, obviously I'm moving into Kiriage or to cut straight up the center, or some larger preparatory motion to cut beforehand. If I'm in Hasso, obviously I'm cutting down or taking some large preparatory motion to cut up. Usually you won't have enough time. So if you're up, you're going down. If you're down, you're going up. If you're in the middle, you're staying in the middle. But with positions like Hidari and Wakigamai, right, which we typically only use when there's an obstruction overhead, where the ceilings are low, where we have to fight kind of in the middle plane, and it's difficult for us to decisively just come over and overrun the guy. But most other people use the Migi and Hidari Wakigamai not as an answer to environmental factors, but rather an attempt to obfuscate their intention. So, because I'm in the middle, but I'm far back, I can come up, or I can go down, right? I can come from the lead side, I can come from the off and back side. You can bust up and break Kiriage from the far back side of your lead foot even, without really too much of any kind of time penalty. So how do you fight somebody like this? Right? Musashi says, well, it's easy, right? You can't see what's going on back there? That's fine. You are going to make the guy pin down with your spirit. It's like, what does that mean, right? It means that you are going to drive him to work, right? You're not going to let him kind of calmly flit around your work while you position yourself. You're going to drive straight into the guy. You're going to cut the closest thing to you, and you are going to force him to respond. Most of the time, their response is going to be to try and change their position and cut you in the same sort of rhythm, trying to work in sort of taino-sen. That's okay, because we know that's their intention, right? Because that is the option they have, that or to attempt to avoid. Either one, the situation is the same for us, fundamentally, which is that their position breaks and we come in and we just mop it up, right? So, again, this is a fairly simple and straightforward strategy. And you can use it in a lot of different places outside of kind of the Nigi or Hidari Wakigamai positions. Anytime that somebody is setting up, you know that they've got an intention to hit you. You know that they're waiting for the moment to be opportune. You can drive this attack in and hit what they've left visible, right? They hit the part that they're showing to you, that they're kind of using as a blanket for their intention. You don't necessarily have to consider this first strike to be something that you're trying to end the fight with. Instead, it should be more like throwing a rock into a pond to get the ducks to fly before you dig them, right? You're just trying to reveal what was hidden. Right? It's not to say that the cut can't be meaningful. In fact, it should be. But don't get lost in the idea of trying to cut him down in one motion, because that plays to the strength of why they've taken this position. Because anytime a person fights you with their sword obscured or hidden from your view, that takes bravery on their part, right? Bravery and conscious control of their terror. Because, here you are with your death stick out in front, coming right for them, and they put their sword behind them, right? So that only they are facing that as they maneuver to get to a critical moment. It's powerful. It's a powerful mindset, and so you shouldn't treat it disrespectfully. You should be aware of it, right? So that's about it for mobilizing the young, mobilizing the visible shadow, making it move, right? Make sense? It all comes around. As always, if you want to understand this work, you have to pick up a sword and go train.